Hey guys, it's EJ with Blockpad, and today we're looking at spreadsheets. Now, at Blockpad, we consider our primary interface to be this word processor style environment that we call reports, where you can have text and equations and even mini spreadsheets. But we also have regular spreadsheets available in the software. To insert a spreadsheet, you're going to come over here to the left side of the window, hover and get this plus sign to appear. Click it and click spreadsheet. And when you do that, that adds a new spreadsheet to this file, just like a sheet in a conventional spreadsheet. Now you can add more sheets. You can also add more reports or even notebooks or drawings as well. And we call these frames. Now, if you want a new spreadsheet file, you can come up here to the top and create a new blank tab and click New Spreadsheet. And that's going to create a new Blockpad file that starts off as a spreadsheet sheet. And just like in the other files, you can add more spreadsheets or more reports to this as you need. I'm going to come over here and zoom in a little. In terms of actually using this spreadsheet, it's basically like a conventional spreadsheet, except that it's got Blockpad features like units intelligence or name cells. So for example, I can type in 5 space FT and press enter, and that value that is put in there is going to be a number value with feet units. And I can keep typing in some more number values here. And just like in conventional spreadsheets, I can click on a cell and press the equal sign to open up a formula. And then I can click other cells to reference them and do math with those values. Can also click and drag these formulas down, and they're going to infer what references those are going to be. Now in Blockpad, you can name cells inside of the formula. So I'll press an equal sign and type in total equals. And then now I'm going to type in my formula. So sum of this group of cells. And then now I've got that named cell there. And I can reference that in other cell formulas to do math with that as well. Now, if you don't want to show the name, you can click on it and go to Properties and change Show Name to No. Now that's going to appear just like a regular cell, but referencing the name still works. You might have also noticed that you can change Show Formula to Yes, and that's going to show that formula in the cell. Now in Blockpad, we keep that off by default because usually if you want to see the formula, you're probably doing those calculations in a report. And in a spreadsheet, you want the density of information that comes from just seeing the results. So I'm going to press Control Z to undo that. Speaking of reports, in spreadsheets, you can have multi-line cells which work essentially like reports. So I'm going to select these cells and merge them. And now that they're merged, I'm going to change this cell to a multi-line cell. And this is going to work essentially like the report environment. So I can type in text, I can press enter to go to new lines, press the equal sign, type in formulas just like you would in the regular report environment, and then reference those values as I create them. In addition to referencing them from inside the multi-line cell, you can also reference those values from in the spreadsheet. So for example, I can say A times the total, and then I'll get my result from that. You can also reference these spreadsheet values from a report in the file. So if I come over here to report 1, I can press the equal sign and type in half of total equals, and then while I'm in that formula, navigate over to sheet 1 and click the value that I want to reference or the cell, but in this case, I want to reference this value and click OK. And then now I've got that in there. I forgot to divide by 2, so I'll go back and divide by 2. And now I've got that value. You can also reference report values from a spreadsheet. So while I'm inside of the spreadsheet, I can press the equal sign and say quarter of total equals, navigate to report, click this, divide by 2, press enter, and now I've got that value there. So that's a quick introduction to some of the unique things of using a spreadsheet in Blockpad. Let's look at some practical examples in the spreadsheets file. Now, a very useful and very common use case for spreadsheets in Blockpad are going to be lookup tables. So I've got 3 examples here. This first one, the water property lookup, is going to look at this water props table here, where I have temperature and all of the different properties of water as temperature changes. So back to my lookup, I'm looking up enthalpy using VLOOKUP interpolate. Now to show you guys what it's like to write that, I'm going to press the equal sign, press Control backslash to get my symbols, type row, and then press enter, equals VLOOKUP interpolate, open parentheses, and I'm going to reference my lookup value here, press comma, click water props, and then I'm going to select this whole range of cells. Press comma, and then 3 because density is the third column here, and close parentheses. And now I've got that density lookup. And if I change my temperature value, then those values are going to change with it. The next example I have here is an air property lookup that's working essentially the same way. But I wanted to show you guys this air props table because I have all of the units hidden on the table. So if I double click on here, you'll see that I actually have units for all of these values. I just have a setting on so that they're not shown, so that this table can be a bit more readable and it doesn't have all of those units cluttering things up. Now to actually show the units, up here I'm using the unit function and referencing all of those cells together. And this is good for two reasons. One, there's some level of automation. So for example, I can just make this once and then drag it over, and then it's going to work all the way. The second reason is that the unit function only works if all of the values it's referencing have the same exact unit. So for example, if I change this from meters to centimeters, then I'm going to get an error at the unit function because not all of these units are the same. And that's a great thing to have when you're hiding units because it makes sure that the units actually are what the heading says they are. So I'm going to press Control Z. Now hiding units, the process is going to look like this. You'll just select all of the cells, go to value format and number, and scroll down and check hide units and click OK. And now all of those units are hidden. And so to use the unit function, I will insert a row, press the equal sign, say unit of, and then select these cells. Click OK. And then I will center that and drag it over. And I'm also going to add a background to differentiate it from the rest. And so now that's the process of hiding those cells. For my last lookup, I'm looking up these universal beam properties. I have this spreadsheet over here that I have called UB. And I'm going to come here and change this field as I need to. And then VLOOKUP exact is going to look up that size and tell me the mass per length. Now, I'll note that this is a field which you can insert over here. It's different than an equation. And I say that because fields can be drop downs. So I'm going to click on it and come over here to value definition and change this to from option list. Come over here and click on UB. And then I'll click in here on the formula and then select these cells and click OK. And now when I've done that, now when I've done that, this field is now a drop down with all of those different sizes, and I can choose what size I want, and mass per length is going to be updated. I'll put a link in the description to our video on drop downs. So that's it for lookups. Another use case for spreadsheets is going to be repeated calculations, where you have a number of different inputs and you want to repeat the same calculation on those inputs over and over. So as a simple example here, I have these cube calcs where we've got the edge length and we calculate the side area, volume, and surface area. Now you can do these kind of calculations using regular cell references just like you would in Excel, but in Blockpad you've got another option that I find particularly useful, and that is to define custom functions that do the math in your columns and then just to use those functions in those columns. So here I'm using this side area custom function and just inputting this edge length. And if you tab over, you'll see I'm doing the same for volume and the same for surface area. So I'll press escape. There's two benefits to doing it this way. One is that you can see all of your calculations in math notation. I know these are relatively simple examples here, but you can imagine situations where you've got much more complex math, and it's very helpful to have that in the math notation. Now, the second benefit is that you can make a change to one of these custom functions. So for example, I can say 3 times 6 times side area. And all of those changes are going to propagate into that column at once. You don't have to worry about redoing the click and drag and getting that all over again. Now, when I did that, you probably noticed that my formatting changed with it, and that's because I've got conditional formatting set up on these two columns. So I'll press Control Z and you can see it'll go back to what I had before. And I'll put a link in the description for how to do conditional formatting in Blockpad spreadsheets. And with that, that's all I've got for you guys on spreadsheets today. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thank you.